So you came to Kenya in what year?
I came in 1980. So I was a good 13 years in Ireland as a sister, which was helpful. And like, I have links back home. I've always had links back home in 3 or 4 different houses, which was good.
Did you go to a Loreto school?
I went to Loreto Balbriggan. I'm County Meath girl, but it was 3 miles across the border to Balbriggan, County Dublin, yeah.
And then what schools were you involved in, or houses in Dublin?
In Dublin, after the novitiate, I was sent to Stephen's Green to study fine art. And from there, I was sent to Gorey. In those days, fine art in those days, according to the powers that be, sisters weren't allowed to do College of Art. So we were with a special topic. We one of the subjects, we had to do a special topic on it. So you'd gather harder work. I think you'd gather a whole portfolio of work. I was sent then to Loreto Abbey Gorey for 2 years, and then I went back for a final year full time to the College of Art. It was good. It was at the time of the strikes. You know, I don't think it's now. It was in those days. It was situated right beside the Dáil and Kildare Street. I don't know whether it still is, but we had riots and the bomb warnings, and it was quite interesting. There were students and threats to get out and all the rest. But it was interesting. It was a good time. Then from that I went to Killarney, Loreto Abbey, Loreto Convent, Killarney, which was a very beautiful place. Yeah.
How long were you there?
6 years. I came from Killarney in 1980. So we.
And then when you came here, where did you teach?
I was here in this house actually for 3 months, studying Swahili up the road, and then I went to Shanganway, which was an out school belonging to Loreto Mombasa. So that was an interesting place because it was co-ed. And I remember the first time I looked down at the class, and there were men looking at me, 40-year-old men. I nearly died, and I'm not used to African people either. I hid for the rest of the morning. Then but they were wonderful. They led the school for you, the games and the football and the clubs. You had so many clubs going. But the men, Philemon was about 40, Rabaka was 33. In those days, they were older coming. You'd admire them. People who felt there was a chance of getting an education, even at late in life. So it was a good school, yeah.
Do you know when Mombasa was started? School?
I'm not sure. I know it was started it was very early on, and it was started in the town, and then it moved to the present site. No, I'd only be guessing. I'm not good on dates.
How long were you in Mombasa?
I was there for 1986, I think, and I came to Missingari for a year. I was teaching fine art, and most subjects I've always been teaching was fine art to the whole school, then English and history and religion. Those 3 were the topics that most of the time, yeah.
Did you find the heat of Mombasa difficult? Just?
Yes, I landed in January. Gosh, I can still remember at the table I could have cried because I was about 18 ant bites of mosquito bites, and the ants were going in and out of the sugar, and there was ants all over the table, and I was dripping with perspiration. So it was, gosh, so then it cooled. October was wonderful. September, October was a wonderful month. I think with the heat, it's not so much that the heat is that you don't get things done. When you're so hot, you walk slower, everybody sits slower, everything slows because of the heat. You survive. And January, February, March were very hot. Then the torrential rains came. And I think people in Ireland, I was told, and I wrote to her, what do I bring? I was told to be sure to bring a heavy raincoat because there's torrential rain. But my good heavy raincoat that I bought new was so hot, you couldn't stay in it because you just can't wear a raincoat in the heat. So that was, you'd have to think twice about what you warn people. And some people said bring light clothes, and some people say warm clothes. So I think they never told me that the evenings and the mornings can be cool, but the day is very warm, even in Nairobi.
And after the 1 year in Wangari?
I moved to formation work, forming the candidates. The present provincial and Domitilla, they're both in this house at the moment, so they're teasing me. I hadn't lived with them since then, but they were both that 1 year candidacy. When there were 2 others, there were 4 of them at that year. 2 have left fairly soon. Yeah.
Was that in Wangari also?
No, Eastleigh.
Oh, Eastleigh.
And it was good because it was among the people. It's a poor, very poor area of the city, as you know, and it was poor. We had murders outside the window and people being shot and the police, and I think I prefer. It was challenging. Yeah. Somebody said I like a challenge. I don't know about that, but I got it there. Yeah, but it again was good. Yeah.
How long were you there?
I was there about 4 years. Then I went to America. Part of the job was to give an 8-day retreat, and I felt I don't mind giving it to a 3-day retreat, but to give an 8-day is fooling with people's lives. So I said, look, I'd love to do a bit more study on that. So I was in Spokane, Washington State for 1 year for a focus on leadership course. And then I think it wasn't, they told me I could get a master's degree because of previous study by staying another 9 months to a year. So I stayed for that. So I went over to the main campus in the Spokane, the Jesuit University, Gonzaga University, Spokane. Then I came back and took up the candidates again. So there were a number of the younger ones for about 3 years. Yeah, then Sister Maria Goretti took over, and I moved. Then at that stage, 1994, we were into the clashes in Kenya. I was at a vocation seminar, and some priest stood up and he said, there's 30,000 people been evicted yesterday, and they're from Enisukapia and Gong diocese, and we're appealing for help. So I was saying, gosh, somebody should do something. I think in Irish farm background, you'd say, gosh, they must be suffering if they were chased from their land. So we said, well, then I began to say, maybe, in the meantime, I'd been elected as secretary of the Justice and Peace, the Catholic Sisters. And I said, oh gosh, maybe I'm the somebody. You know, maybe I was pointing everybody, thinking the bishop should do something, the Mother General should do something, but maybe I'm the somebody. So we got a few people together, our little committee, which was part-time at the time, and we organised a trip into Mayala. There were about 18,000 people there. Wangari Maathai was linked with it, I think, too, but it was a terrible little tents on the hill, so that's another long story. I ended up, when Maria Goretti took over then, I was 15 years full-time in Justice and Peace, probably, yeah.
And in that time you had a lot of contact with Wangari Maathai?
Now, Wangari, one of the things I thought were important, and one of the younger Kenyan sisters, Claire Wanjohi, who has left us, she was saying, look at the women of Kenya need help. So I found I'm a good organizer. I think that's probably the good aspect of me. We just said, I felt I didn't have the skills or the knowledge for them, but we looked for top people who knew something, who were good at whatever they were good at. And Wangari Maathai at that stage was famous for environment and for justice and peace. So we invited her to give a talk on environment. So she was wonderful. She was so down to earth. She was practical. She started off with Genesis, suited the sisters very well. It suited us all. Very clear, very easy to get on with. So it was from then we invited her regularly to give a talk. It could be on justice and peace issues, really, violence, environment. She told me one day it wasn't totally the environment that she said, but I'd never get away with talking about justice and peace or human rights. So environment covers, people don't get upset about environment, but they do get upset about human rights. So, she was a wonderful person. What else do I? Yes, she was involved then in some of the walks. She'd have walks, talks. Let me see. I think we ended up in prison for 2 days because of Wangari. There was a debt campaign. She was very interested in the debt campaign, and so were we, to get the the debt, how much money is being borrowed in this country, and for who, and for what, and for where, and where does it go, and is it being used for what? Because I think people think it's free, but it's not free. So we walked, and at the end of it we were arrested. Now Wangari was saved because she stayed behind to talk to the media. There was somebody interviewing her, and I think we were arrested because we were with Wangari Maathai. So that was an interesting experience. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah.
She was a graduate of Loreto.
Loreto. Yes, she was. She's written a book, Unbowed. Written a number of books, as you probably know. Yeah. Yes, she went on then to do veterinary, I think, and then she came back to the country and took up the issues. I think she was a courageous lady, and very ordinary and very humble. You know, there was a very ordinary in the good sense of ordinary. Yeah. So I think I went to visit her in the hospital. No, her head was cut open once. I went to visit in the hospital. Then there was trouble at all these the women at the corner. At Uhuru Park corner there, so I think it was part of our work, part of supporting her, whatever it was. Constitution Committee. She was at I was into a very interesting talk with her for the police force, the army, because interesting enough, they said you can't. I said, why are you interested in the environment? And they said, because our soldiers need manoeuvres, and now the country is drying up. A lot of the places that used to be open to us now are no longer there. So we see, can we help to the environment too? But and then I happened to visit one of our sisters who was over 102, Hyacinth. She was in hospital when I passed by her room. I didn't know she was in, but some of the women recognized me, and I think they wanted a sister to pray. So I didn't realize at that stage she had been in America, and I thought she was I knew she was sick, but not as badly. So I went in and she was dying. She died the next day. So I like that prayer, Christ be beside me, Christ be before. There's nothing much, you're not able for big prayers when you're dying. Yeah, you're not able. Yeah.
Would you say you were a good friend of hers, or just she was an invited speaker and you had a relationship on that basis? Or?
Yeah, I couldn't say I was a close friend of hers. If I'd known, I would have been. I think I was in awe of her a bit too. You know, I suppose at the back of my mind, we had a lot of important people over the years, but you'd always feel they're busy people, you know, and you're caught up. It was a mistake, probably a mistake in some. I was sorry later that I didn't. You know, I was invited to give the article in the Lemuru magazine that time, but. Yeah, there were a number of other things. It's just the Uhuru Park. She was part of somebody you admired, but no, I wouldn't say. No, I wouldn't say I was a close friend.
And did you have contact with some of the sisters who would have been involved in the setting up of Loreto Lemuru or Eldrat or Mombasa, or like Sister Colombier, Sister Philippine? Any stories you might remember? People who came after the war. Hard times, no food.
No, when I arrived in 1980, we'd go to Lemuru for after, and it was difficult because it was so high up. It's 5,000 feet higher than here, but there was a little old house there, and that they said was the first classroom or the first dormitory. I think it was a very little old one. They found it difficult. They didn't talk too much about it. I can't say I'm the best one to add to those stories. Miriam O'Shea was here. She was one of those first people. I think Veronica Bradley was. We knew them, but I suppose it's only when you're being interviewed that you talk about yourself. Otherwise, you don't even think about you. You don't go back and said, it's not really a custom. Maybe it's not a custom. I know from Philippine shared her story, and Colum, because I interviewed them myself for, we were doing this exhibition, the Irish exhibition banner thing, and their journey out. And we're not good at telling our story. I don't think we're very good at telling our story. I'm trying to think. No, I know they talked about the good times more than the bad times. One of the things we picked up, they'd have these little picnic outings, which is sadly it's gone these days. We don't have time for picnic outings. They'd go off in the car and they'd bring a lunch basket with them, and they'd sit on Lake Naivasha or something like that. They were good. They'd maybe once a term. I picked it up. It was fairly regular. Colombier loved little outing, and most of the sisters did. And I suppose we were part of that in the early days. But all of those have. The young ones do an outing once a year. I think most of the province do an outing. They have a day out. It's a different type though. But those picnic days are gone. Yeah.
Those names that you mentioned, Bradley and O'Shea, are they passed on? Huh?
They are, yes, they passed on. They were great ladies. Yeah. Again, Veronica was very involved in the Shamba work. Home science teacher, but also loved vegetables. Because I remember being interviewed. I went with the parents, and they were talking about it. Some of the girls were joining, and their daughter. And they said, "Is it true that Loreto make the novices work in the Shamba and they don't do it themselves?" I said, "No." I said, "Look, Veronica was and then I felt, let me hand it over to somebody else." So the driver who was with us, we got somebody to drive us up country, and he said, "No, Sister Nuala, she does the Shamba as well. There's a number of us do the Shamba, so it's not just." So I was really puzzled how he could think we would ask our young Kenyan sisters to do something when we weren't prepared to do it ourselves. Yeah. And Hyacinth lived with us. She was a great, this great hockey player. You'd hear that. Carmel O'Reilly, great tennis player. I think they were committed. They were mostly, whatever they did, I think those early sisters, whatever they did, they were committed to it. So then, of course, they put all their energy into it, and it did well. It did well.
Was Hyacinth Irish or English?
Irish from Dublin, from Dublin, Barden. Yeah.
What's her second name?
Barden, Hyacinth Barden. She was 102 or 103 when she died. Yeah, but she was a great. They were great. Their interest. The older people here are very interested in the young ones, and I think the young ones appreciate that one. Yeah, but.
In 2013, I think it was the anniversary of the 50th anniversary of the country, Loreto got a special award, and I think Sister Colombier went to receive it with
Seraphine, the provincial. Yeah.
That must have been a very proud moment. No?
It's not. You do your best. I think all along you do your best, and the joy is if a student if a student does their best, no matter how good they are, if they achieve whatever they're capable of, I think that's what we're happy about. But it's the ones who don't do their best. Somebody who's gifted who doesn't. So I'm not sure. I suppose we are proud. Well, of course we must be. We're glad. It'd be worse if we got a bad certificate. But sometimes I suppose I was thinking, gosh, I'm sure lots of people deserve that certificate. I was thinking of other religious congregations. When I was doing that, I was doing an Irish thing for Irish banners to celebrate 1916 and the 100 years, 20s. I think it hit me more and more. There's so many congregations. We all contributed. I think we can get very insular looking, but we all contributed. All the congregations in so many ways contributed, and so many lay people, which I hadn't even heard about. Irish lay people contributed. When people do their best. But yeah, I'm sure we were happy. I think Colum was very happy, and Seraphine was very happy.
And over the 100 years, something like 500,000 African girls have been educated in Loreto schools.
And that's a good.
That's my calculation. Any comment on that? I can't get any of the sisters to. Well, only one, Sister Mary Owen said. I think it must be something around that. No? Nobody seems to know the number.
No, but it wouldn't be something we'd be counting.
Yeah.
I think we're just, and it would have too much work to do than correcting exercise than be counting. Oh, thank God, there's 30 in this class and 40. And I don't think we'd ever bother counting.
But when you look back over 100 years, it's an incredible number. I mean, that's just that statistic alone says an awful lot.
Well, we're glad. I think we were glad to be there. I suppose it's a privilege taking. Sometimes you think you're giving, but I think mostly we learn from the pupils too. I think I came out with the idea that I was giving. I soon had to change my tune. You're learning from Kenyans as much or more. They were wonderful, some of them wonderful students. Yeah, I was one of the, we'd only the one co-ed school. Well, Nakuru was co-ed, Catholic parochial, smaller, but the Mombasa, Shangambi was. We were talking the other day about a chap called William Oyaya, and William came. We started the relay. We were well behind, and he started at the last kind of thing. Gosh, I can see my ears are still. He passed out. They came right when he came into second place. In the end, we won. We got second place overall. He got us enough points to. So I think it's. Yeah, they were wonderful people. Yeah, I think over the pupils over the years. Yeah.
Can you go through the schools, the different schools? Because you've mentioned Nakuru, but nobody else ever mentioned Nakuru.
We opened. I'm no good on dates. What date would that have been? Nakuru is in my time, because I know we were asked to go up and give a help with designing it. So it had to be since 1980, 1986. Maybe 89, early 90s, and it closed. We were disappointed. We handed it over. It was a co-ed school. Bishop Ndingi this time. He invited us to take over an existing house, and then we built the school. I think it's still called Loreto Nakuru. So that's still there. I always think of the two M's. For the other schools. M for Mombasa and M for Matunda in the Mombasa south, Matunda in the north, and then Nakuru is gone now. Then Kiambu, Limuru, Eastleigh, Eldoret was another one, an earlier one that closed here. Misingari, Karindi, Mary Ward Centre. Karindi is out Karen Way. It's a farm. They're trying to produce vegetables from it. You know, they have a little farm attached to it and a few cows.
Is it a school?
No, it's sorry, not a school. It's the students our young Kenyan sisters are studying. They go to Kwea University or Tangaza College, some of the colleges from there. So it's a 14. We have about
10 houses you mentioned.
Yeah, we trees as Eastleigh. Some of the schools that we were part of it. Shangambi, we ran it for the diocese. Now Eastleigh, I don't know if Eastleigh was ours, but we ran it. We ran it for years. Gosh, 12 to 14, I think it names anyway.
Any particular happy moments, proud moments that you remember since 1980 that you treasure in your heart forever? Are there so many? Difficult question. Okay. The other opposite of that, any difficult moments? Painful ones, like the bus crash.
The bus crash. When I resigned from AOSK, I was after 15 years, the Justice and Peace Group, and I came here, and I think, was it in the first or second year, it was very soon anyway. And I think it was hard because that morning I was asked to say the prayer. I went out to wave them off, the bus loads of them. And they went from here. Oh, sorry, I think I'm just changed from Misingari. Sorry, yeah, I forgot. We did say the prayer on the bus. I remember, and some of them looked a bit sad. Mostly, I felt well, maybe they weren't with their friends. You know, schoolgirls like to be with their friends. So I just said, "Look, be good to each other." And you know, this is a time for these few days now to be good to each other. And we prayed for their safety and all the rest. So I was slow saying. I was thinking. I thought twice about all prayers in future then, but. Yes, we got the news here in the evening time, and by accident I knew where the deputy head was. I'd had a phone call from a friend, so I was able to ring her to come back immediately and get the list of the pupils from the school, to open the school, any other needs we had. And then we didn't realise how bad the bus accident was. We ran up. I said, "Quick, just before you go now." A few people offered to go immediately to Mero, which is about 5 hours away. So we sent blankets and flasks and things like that. I suppose then the parents began to come in. They'd heard it on the news, so from right until midnight, 1 o'clock, some of them were even coming in at 1 o'clock. Didn't know whether to go or not, didn't know if their daughter was on the bus or not. Very difficult to get out of anybody there who was on the bus, who was in good form, who was safe, who wasn't safe. And I think looking back, there's not much you could do really. because people there, they were so busy trying to get to identify those who weren't injured and to identify those who were injured, to get them to the hospital, to get them to some place to stay for the night safely. So some of our sisters were in the northern Kenya at the time, Maria Thimba, there's a few of them. They came down to the bus accident in Meru. So a carload went up and another few came down. It was hard. I always think the parents were angry. Well, some of them felt, look, it's an accident, but some of them felt there were rumours going around. I always think inaccurate rumours. Because I remember saying, look, I said, Margaret, we want the truth. What did happen? Did you know the bus was faulty or did you not? And they said, no, it wasn't. There was nothing about that. Somebody, like one girl said, she overheard a conversation that she said, no, nothing like that. So it was to kind of identify, to rule out what was rumour, because I feel like I want the truth as well as anything, and no matter what the truth is, you can't deal with an untruth anyway. But I think what helped me to get through it was that I was thinking, there were 4 girls in the family, 3 sisters. Now we all went to Loreto, Nuala Brangan. And I knew if that had happened to one of us, my father would be. I was just thinking of these men, this beautiful young daughter of theirs. There's a poster there with one of the girls in it. She lost an arm. So I think the pain of the families, the pain of the girls themselves, the future. Was it carelessness? But I felt in a way you everything in you wanted to apologise, but you felt, well, what am I apologising? Well, of course we're shocked, and we're upset, and we're shocked, and we don't know how to cope with this. I think some of the Kenyan sisters, the younger ones, just didn't know. They didn't say anything. You wondered, did they not know? Or I think they just couldn't know how to deal with it. So I think I kind of took it upon myself to visit them in hospital every day, into the Aga Khan hospital. Most of them were there. Some were in Karindi and in Karen, and then most of them were in Nairobi hospital. So it was kind of going around and see how they were, seeing with the parents. At that stage you wonder, are you okay? Can you cope financially? And then like to see, well, I can't apologise that we did get the buses tested and all the rest, and the driver had a licence and all of that sort of thing. Now it's up to the police to come up with, but everything in you wanted to say, I'm so sorry. More to say, I'm so sorry this has happened to your beautiful daughter. And we were around, we were the ones that owned the bus that was carrying her. I think it's a very difficult situation. The first meeting was very difficult because their parents were angry. And some of them, they just wanted to, they were shouting, we want to see the people who were on the bus, the teachers and the headmistress. Margaret was injured in the bus, she was still in hospital at the time. But it was mostly, I said, well, so they just told us, look, we don't want to talk to you, go out of the room. So they really ran the show, and we didn't know what. Now the next meeting, I felt we felt this is not going to help anybody. So we talked about it, and we brought the teachers. Then the next meeting didn't even want to see the teachers. We said, well, there's no other agenda. You asked to see the teachers, that's it. So I will take the list of all your other problems. Will they get the Standard 8 exam? All of these questions came up. Can they get help? How can they write if they've only one arm? So all of these things. What about the two girls who died in the accident? So there was a lot of pain and confusion. But I felt, look, if to be of any help to anybody, we want to know your questions. We'll get those questions answered. You want us to go to the Department of Education, we go to the department. So in the meantime, this is the only agenda today. When you asked for it, this is it. So said, we don't want to listen. So 3 of them stormed out. And he said, sorry, but wait, hold on a second now. Is this everybody? If you all want to go, that's okay. We understand. We sympathise so much with you. But no, the others all wanted to hear. They wanted to see what really did happen that day. So we stayed there. We tried to bring in a lawyer that I'd met, but I just said, look, I don't want to talk to you. They want an independent person, so you be the independent. Just let them get out of them what they want, and let them be angry. They're angry, of course they're angry. Who wouldn't be angry? So I think then in the meantime, some of the sisters had gone to the insurance company. The first they didn't want to hear about insurance. or how did they cover the bill? Because that was my concern. You didn't like to ask them, look, excuse me, you know, a wealthy looking gentleman, do you have enough money to cover? I felt, gosh, what do I do about this? I just said, look, are you okay, or have you insurance? But some of them had insurance, but some of them, it was a family insurance, and then one of the other members of the family needed to use that insurance. So I think there were certain things, the insurance companies, the broker and the insurance company were looked into, and they were brought and they were invited to talk to the parents. In the meantime, the court case has gone on for years. It went on for a number of years. I don't know whether it's, I know they were going to Mayo, but we didn't, Margaret was here recovering for some time. Then the operation didn't go well on her arm. I think it was, I remember, not so well. I'm missing Gary, sorry. I forgot I have only moved a few days. But it was mostly dealing with that. And then, and trying to see what you could say in the hospital, the pain of the girls and the upset. So some of the parents were, I think that, yeah, some of them were, a few of them just didn't want you to go near them, didn't want to see nuns or anything to do with the school, head teacher. So I remember pleading with one parent, and I said, look, I can understand, that's okay with me, it's nothing, but you talk about your daughter, what does she need now? She wants to see her classmates, she wants to see her teachers. If that's what she wants, you know, look, we're not going to influence them one way or the other. We're as interested in the truth as you are interested in. So I think we just focus on what is her need. But some of them, I think, but yeah, you could just, it was a difficult time. Yeah.
How come you were involved?
I was the sister in charge as the old-fashioned superior or community leader in Missingari at the time. Okay. So they're fairly well linked. Now, sorry, that was my story. We had committee meetings. We had a group of committee meetings. Like we invited, I was on the board, the Missingari board at the time, as ex officio because of the job. Then the provincial was there. Then the school headmistress was there, and the education secretary. Then one or two other people were brought in as well. So because it's a bigger issue than we could deal with one person. Yeah, and then there was all this a lot of the official business with lawyer, the provincial eventually took a lot of mostly that. So it was dealt with. But everybody, I think about the community. Most sisters, a lot of the girls got counselling. They needed debriefing, or they counseled with the teachers. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on at the time. So yeah.
And now it has all passed, mostly.
Mostly, yeah. You're always conscious of it. Like when you pass the house of one of the girls, live quite near. When you pass her house, you're thinking of her, and you're wondering how they're managing. They've left school and left Form 4. They'll go on to college or whatever. You just hope they. And you didn't know what to say, and you couldn't offer them money, or you just hoped that whoever was taking over the case and the assurance and all the rest, they were helping them, you know. Yeah, it's a very difficult situation. Yeah.
Sports over the last 30 years, you weren't involved in sports, hockey or?
And my father was very good at sports, so I took it up. In Shanganway, yes, that's where my first thing. Yes. Mostly the football, the boys. I think the best subject in the school is football. They just take to the football from birth. The Kenyans are good at football. I think what happened, it was a poor school, so I think most people couldn't afford the football boots. So trying, how do you get, it's very hard to kick strong with no football boot. But they were good at hockey and football, netball, basketball. We did a lot of those. Now, Missingari, no, I think that was, no, that was the only school I was in, but you'd be at the edge. I think it's the sports were important as Loreto. I think it's fullness of life, or the potential of the human being, that you want to develop the music, the art, the games. These were all important, and they were like in every school. There were every school there. And you're missing out. You'd be sad. There was a little period there where there was no hockey, or they went home at 4 o'clock and they didn't. With the borders now, you'll always have games going on. Yeah, I think we're much happier with that. Yeah.
From your fine arts classes, did anybody catch the bug of fine arts?
They were good at it. The Kenyans are kind of good. Kenyans in general have a good sense of colour, nature, very good natural. We did well at the Form 4, but I never got into. Miss Gary, yeah, we just exhibitions, and they were good. No, I never got an opportunity to bring it on. I was asking about some the other day, but they don't know how. I'm just asking Domitilla now. Did she know how did some of the good ones get on? But I didn't. Oh yeah.
Were you involved at all in music festivals?
No, not really. No, yeah. Just appreciate it, and yeah.
And you've been almost 30 years now in Kenya?
1980, 37, I suppose. 37 years, yeah.
And you're glad you came to Kenya?
Ah, yes, yeah.
If you had your life to live over again the last 40 years, would you do the same thing?
Yes, of course, yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay, then.